So I would like to thank everybody for attending. And my topic for my dissertation is addressing the unique needs of Muslim female former offenders to improve successful reentry and reduce recidivism. I'd like to thank my dissertation chair, Dr. Oda, as well as my committee member, Dr. Wilmore. Let's begin with the story of Sister Amira. Born Latoya and known on the streets as Toy, her transformation into Sister Amira marked a pivotal shift in her life. Amira's childhood was marred by the trauma of witnessing domestic violence and substance abuse within her family. This early exposure to instability contributed to her struggles, leading to difficulties in both school and involvement with the juvenile justice center system throughout her adolescence. As she entered her 20s, Amira's involvement with the criminal justice system escalated, progressing from misdemeanors to felonies. This resulted in a cyclical pattern of institutionalization, moving between the streets, shelters, jails, programs, prisons, and mental health facilities. Despite various interventions, she rarely experienced more than short periods of detention, typically ranging from 3 to 18 months until her mid-30s. The system's escalating consequences for repeat offenses, a common practice across many states, eventually led to her receiving a 7-year sentence. Even with time credits and early release, she served approximately 4 years. During this incarceration, Amira made a conscious decision to engage fully with available rehabilitation programs and resources, including embracing Islam. While she had some prior exposure to Islam through family and occasional participation in religious services during her previous incarcerations, she had never integrated into the Muslim community upon release. This time, however, she felt determined to break the cycle. Amira's intent was strong, but the critical question remained: what would make this reentry attempt different from all of her other previous failures? To address this issue, we must delve into the research and, most importantly, understand the perspectives of those directly impacted by this cycle of incarceration and reentry. So let's get started. The agenda: background, key terms and concepts, Muslim female former offender context, reintegration challenges for Muslims, Muslim Chaplain Services of Virginia and Hijra House strategies, Muslim female former offenders reentry challenges, the study, problem, purpose, and need, literature review, methodology, participant demographics and results, select interview questions, discussion, implication and recommendations for future research, limitations, and a conclusion. As far as background, in July of 2022, I was interviewed by Dr. Buffone and Dr. Svenning, the department chair and former department chair. During the interview, Dr. Svenning introduced herself and nearly immediately asked me what was my dissertation topic. After kind of recovering from the surprise, I answered what I thought to be a potential topic, and she countered with asking me, did I have an organization in mind that would allow for this and that would give me access? I did not. Shortly after the Summer Institute, I began to prospect for organizations on a short list of topics that I was interested in. At some point, I discovered Hijra House, ran by Muslim Chaplain Services of Virginia, and I reached out to Brother Carol Malik, who ran the Transition House. I told him my idea to address recidivism among Muslim former offenders. At that point, he asked me, was I more interested in his assistance in a project that would help me get my degree, or was I interested in trying to do some more digging on an overlooked topic that there was a greater need to address, but that he'd help me either way? He elaborated that Muslim female former offenders receive little to no attention, funding, or resources, and there existed both a trauma and critical need to combat stigma within and outside the Muslim community. Malik's words reverberated similar conversations I had had with Imam Jamil Rahman from Masjid al-Haq in Cleveland, Ohio, when he sent me into the county jail there to serve the Muslim inmates. Upon hearing Malik's suggestion, I felt as though the topic would be quite a bit more challenging, but the uniqueness of it would offer an opportunity to differentiate myself from other researchers and even other doctoral candidates. At that point, Malik introduced me to Asghar Gorea, president of Muslim Chaplain Services of Virginia, who along with Malik had been combating Muslim incarceration and reentry issues for 40 years apiece. It was at this point I knew I had my topic. Incidentally, after serving the incarcerated and formerly incarcerated Muslim community for nearly half a century as a Muslim former offender his own self, Brother Malik passed away just a few months ago before this research was completed. So I call this the Re's, though there's many different key terms and concepts that I addressed during the dissertation. These particularly come to mind because each one not only begins with the letter RE, but each one is significant because it involves some sort of repetition. So we've got reentry, the process of leaving prison and returning to society. We've got reintegration, turning prisoners back into citizens. And we've got returning, the process of going back mentally or physically. Those three terms typically are used interchangeably, but they're not. Reentry is simply when the doors open and you get out. Reintegration is trying to actually reacclimate yourself to being a citizen in society, which you may or may not have ever truly been before. And returning can be a number of different things. Obviously, it could be returning to society. It also could be returning to crime. It could be returning to Islam even. And then we have rehabilitation and recovery. Though both of those are used interchangeably, there's a difference. Rehabilitation aims to a return to a previous state, which basically is getting you to ground zero, while recovery aims for growth and transformation, which gives you the ability to sustain and maintain your rehabilitation, and in this case, not recidivate and have to go back. Muslim female former offender context. Firstly, who are the Muslims? Muslims are followers of Islam, a monotheistic religion centered around the belief in one God whom Muslims call Allah and the following of the teachings, sayings, and observations of Prophet Muhammad. It's a globally diverse community encompassing various sects, cultures, races, and ethnicities. In the United States, Islam is particularly adverse, with Muslims originating from various backgrounds, including those with American roots and immigrant communities worldwide. Who are the Muslim females, or the Muslimas? Muslimas are female followers of Islam who navigate unique social and cultural considerations within their faith. Muslim women in the United States represent a diverse community encompassing various ethnicities, races, and cultural backgrounds, including African American, Arab American, and South Asian American. Their experiences are shaped by the intersection of their religious, ethnic, and racial identities. Now, when we get to Muslim female former offenders, these are women who identify as Muslim who have been incarcerated and are in the process of reentering society. They come from a very much less diverse racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic background than the global or the U.S. Muslim female population, and are primarily younger, African American, lesser educated, coming from backgrounds of trauma and poverty. Muslim female former offenders face unique challenges during reintegration, including the stigma of imprisonment, religious challenges, and difficulty assessing culturally sensitive support services. They often struggle to reconcile their past actions with Islamic principles. Challenges in reintegration for formerly incarcerated Muslims. Muslim Chaplain Services of Virginia is located in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And that differentiates them from some organizations because in 1995, unlike most states, the Commonwealth of Virginia actually abolished their parole system. What does this mean? Well, it means by lacking a formal parole system that requires, they require felony offenders to serve at least 85% of their sentences. Above and beyond that, the state provides limited, if any, resources at all post-release. Now, oftentimes parolees themselves just look at the supervision and the things that they have to do. And so they might perceive it fondly, like, oh, I don't have to be supervised. But it also, by removing the parole system, it also removes any mandatory housing, transition programs, or any of the benefits that they may have otherwise received to connect them back to society. Post-release risk include Islamophobia and profiling, as well as higher mortality rates. Released individuals, particularly women, face significantly higher risk, including a 3.5 times higher mortality rate compared to the general population. Ironically for them, release can actually be more dangerous than incarceration due to lack of support. Inadequate prison rehabilitation. Most studies show that prison as a rehabilitation source is inefficient. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the level of recidivism. And also for many individuals, there's a health concern gap as well. And then there's also the substance abuse prevalence, which also includes mental health challenges. Muslim Chaplain Services in Virginia and Hijra House Reintegration Strategy. Muslim Chaplain Services of Virginia aims to address shortcomings of the prison system by providing culturally sensitive reintegration services. They offer both prison outreach programs, including religious services and staff training and orientation on Islamic cultural awareness, and operate the Hijra House. They've trained over 4,200 prison staff on Islamic cultural awareness. Hijra House has had nearly an 80% completion success rate, and overall transition planning programs reduce recidivism rates. Hijra House provides a comprehensive reentry program for men, including housing, food, job support, and life skills. And as far as challenges, Muslim Chaplain Services of Virginia faces significant financial constraints, and they rely heavily on community donations. They lack the resources to establish a specialized program for Muslim female former offenders, though they intend to. And then the stigma within and outside the Muslim community impedes successful reintegration, both for Muslim female former offenders as well as Muslim men. Reentry challenges for Muslim female former offenders. According to Table Foundation, one of the biggest issues is trauma. Nearly 95% of incarcerated women have experienced trauma, and that's often linked to substance abuse. Then child care can become an issue. 62% of the women in prison have children under 18, and most are primary caretakers, leading children to enter foster care. Of course, when the women become more stable, they would like to try to get their children back. And in order to get their children back and prove their stability, they have to prove that they are working and will be able to support them. So child care becomes an issue. Also, increased prison rates. While male incarceration rates have steadily been falling for years, actually female incarcerations have been on the rise in many areas for quite some time. Which ultimately leads, if you have more female prisoners, ultimately that leads to having more Muslim female former offenders as well. And then there's conversion support. Most Muslim women in prison are converts or reverse. They face a greater difficulty finding resources and support because once they're released out into a society where they never had a Muslim community before they got released. The study, problem, and purpose. Statement of problem. This research focuses on the critical gap in support for Muslim female former offenders as identified by participants. The study aims to develop culturally sensitive and gender-responsive strategies to address the unique reintegration challenges faced by Muslim female former offenders, including a lack of transitional housing, culturally competent programs, and systemic barriers. By incorporating participant perspectives, the research seeks to create a plan for increased funding and resources to enhance Hijra House's capacity and promote successful Muslim female former offender reintegration. As far as purpose, the study focuses on improving reintegration support for Muslim female former offenders based on the needs identified by participants. It aims to develop a plan for enhanced services, including transitional housing and culturally tailored programs to address the unique needs of Muslim female former offenders. The research will present this plan to stakeholders and establish an evaluation strategy to measure program effectiveness, ensuring stability, sustainability, and alignment with participant needs, ultimately bridging the reintegration gap. Need for the study. The reintegration of Muslim female former offenders the reintegration of the Muslim female former offenders face significant challenges due to a growing need of support, unique obstacles, resource deficiencies, ineffective current methods, and the negative impact of neglect. The research highlights a critical lack of tailored programs specific to them, as well as a lack of data and research gaps specific to Muslim female former offenders, all of which further compounds the issues faced by this vulnerable population. Literature review. Recidivism and reintegration challenges. Understanding the factors that contribute to recidivism among formerly incarcerated individuals is crucial. This includes exploring the specific challenges women face upon release, such as lack of resources, stigma, and social barriers. This research examines the general factors associated with recidivism, providing a foundation for understanding the broader context before focusing on Muslim female former offenders. Muslim female former offenders and gender-specific issues informs the understanding of the general challenges they face and how these challenges might be exasperated by specific circumstances, such as religious conversion, cultural barriers, etc. Recognizing that women, especially Muslim female former offenders, have unique needs and challenges that differ from male offenders, and this includes issues related to trauma, family responsibilities, and gender-based discrimination. Faith-based organizations and cultural competency deals with understanding the potential role of faith-based organizations in supporting MFFOs and the importance of cultural competency in providing effective services. Root causes of criminal behavior and child development. That deals with looking at the actual root causes or ACEs as it's commonly termed, and looking at the issues stemming all the way back to childhood that may lead to criminal lifestyles that in essence may lead to imprisonment. Funding and organizational sustainability. Understanding the challenges of funding and sustaining reentry programs, including the need for effective resource management and community partnerships, is important. Mentorship and support systems. Recognizing the critical role of mentorship in helping to facilitate the successful reentry for Muslim female former offenders is very important. And this explores the effectiveness of the programs as well as other support systems in promoting successful reentry outcomes. And then systemic factors and social issues. Understanding the broader systemic factors and social issues that contribute to challenges faced by Muslim female former offenders, such as poverty, discrimination, and lack of access to resources, is also very important. Methodology. We used the research design of qualitative methodology. We had 12 participants. 7 were released Muslim female former offenders. 5 were stakeholders who have worked with and or advocated for Muslim female former offenders. The sample procedure we used was partnerships with Muslim organizations, snowball sampling, and announcements through different Muslim community networks. For instrumentation, we used a semi-structured interview guides, a document review protocol guide, and logic model. For data collection, we used the interviews and document review. And for data analysis, we used thematic analysis, where we looked at different themes across all of the interview information, as well as resource gap analysis and logic model analysis of the logic model. For validity and reliability, we compared data, we looked at member checking as well as expert review, and maintaining consistent interview protocols and data collection procedures. For ethical considerations, we use the Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative, or CITI, as well as the Human Subjects Review Committee, HRSC approval, informed consent. And we made sure that all participants knew that they had the right to withdraw before, after, and during the interview process. We maintained pseudonyms to keep everything anonymous, and we attempted our best to minimize harm by taking into consideration the needs and well-being of all the participants, and we maintained sound data management. Interview participants. Again, 7 of the participants were Muslim female former offenders, with 5 being basically stakeholders, one of which was actually a former offender themselves. It's important to note that while the majority of both were African American, there were a couple Latino participants as well as a white and Middle Easterner. And it's important to note that in the age range was roughly 30 to 60s, and we even included one male. Now, the demographic breakdown of the MFFO participants closely reflects the actual demographics of Muslim female prison participation in the U.S. So we felt that gave you a sound view coming from a sound sample, even though it was small. Interview question 1. What unique challenges do Muslim female former offenders face upon reentry into society? 2 of the biggest things are institutional discrimination and higher vulnerability. I can't believe this. Vulnerability. Participant number 8 said, they make it tough. Even though we understand that practicing our religious beliefs is a constitutional right, when you're in a facility, they can do whatever they want. It's important to note that this powerlessness feeling that many Muslim female former offenders have can be harmful, as well as make them feel even more isolated from the community, as well as rejected, and further make their transition back into society more difficult. Interview question number 7. What are the most significant gaps in current reentry programs that hinder successful reintegration for Muslim female former offenders? This looks at two basic points: awareness and outreach, where there's a lack of Muslim women mentors for them, and Islamic training availability, both when they're incarcerated and once they get out. And then also the post-release strategy. With the post-release strategy, there is a lack of continuity of care, as well as a lack of really taking a good hard look at the needs to reconnect with the family, including children, sometimes siblings and parents, and where applicable, even spouses. Participant number 5 said not having resources that are Islamically appropriate or knowledgeable creates that barrier for them to be able to practice their faith and live in current society. Question 4. What role should Muslim organizations or communities play in supporting successful reentry for Muslim female former offenders? To support for incarcerated Muslims needs to be able to deter their feelings of isolation and invisibility, and that can be done through helping and showing them love and acceptance by both the Muslim community, the community at large where applicable, as well as family connections where applicable as well. And that can also be done and help facilitate it by having good sound female mentorship for them, hopefully starting even while they're still incarcerated and continuing into their post-release. Participant number 3 said they don't have the connection to community right off the top, and that's very important. Interview question number 5. What specific resources or support systems would be particularly helpful for Muslim female former offenders during reentry? Counseling, lack of, and then we also have to keep account of the lack of basic resources that many of these individuals have, and also making sure that we provide referrals and sound referrals and resource navigation. Participant number 12 said mental health is so important. You can have all the right tools sometimes, but you just cannot be prepared mentally out there. So it's hard. You might need a support group or counseling. If these people lack the needed support group or counseling, as well as their access to their medication directly coming out from incarceration, the results can be, it can go astronomically wrong. Question number 3. What specific barriers related to religious practices or attire while transitioning back in society do Muslim female former offenders experience? The most striking and concerning thing for this data is systemic violation of the Muslim female former offenders' religious freedom in regards to their attire while they're incarcerated when they get out, as well as other aspects such as having access to religiously permissible food and non-pork products. Participant number 1 said they didn't have that many women volunteers that came into the prison from the Islamic community. And participant number 5 said there's a lack of knowledge as to why we cover, why we dress, and the way we dress. Maintaining awareness of these things is very important to the reintegration for Muslim female former offenders. Question number 12. What about Islam appeals to women, including female former, most specifically Muslim individuals that become Muslim female former offenders? Participant number 12 said they're looking for a community so that they can feel like they belong, and they're trying to get out of the toxic drama in the community. And then, and even in the projects, if you're Muslim, you walk through the projects, you walk through the community, and no one bothers you. Everyone's respectful, and you're respectful to them. It's important to note that the importance of feeling some sort of spiritual fulfillment, community support from the Muslim community, as well as the ability to experience a personal ongoing transformation, as well as being able to connect with both a cultural and religious heritage, and also being able to look at Islam and the spiritual principle behind it as something that can help maintain one's moral framework and guide them to sustaining a structured ethical system. Interview question 14. What religious services or programs Muslim female former offenders had access to while incarcerated are you aware of that they experienced a continuation of service or referral after incarceration? Participant number 1 replied, if you don't know where the local community is and you're trying to get in, it's very hard. So you need that support system of them going into the prisons and talking to sisters and giving them a support system before they even get out. So what ends up happening in a lot of cases is these females clean up and they experience some sort of spiritual awakening while they're incarcerated. But because the majority of them are either reverting or converting to Islam while they're incarcerated, or they're individuals who may have left actively practicing while they were on the street and they're returning back to Islam, most of them do not have any type of Islamic community to call home once they get out. And oftentimes where they're incarcerated are great distances away from where they're going to get out. So what happens is once they get out and they return home, they don't have a community to go to. And being that they never really were experienced or had Muslim experience or relationships before they went in, this causes a barrier, and then many end up getting lost. This is just a word cloud based on participant responses to the interview questions. It reveals some of the intricate challenges Muslim female former offenders face upon reentry, encompassing both practical necessities and profound personal struggles. Systemic issues like racism and apathy, coupled with personal trauma and lack of support, create significant obstacles. The data stresses the critical need for culturally and religious sensitive programs, including housing, employment assistance, and mental health supports. So the discussion, the challenges and support for Muslim female former offenders. Some of the most interesting and impactful themes from this discussion would be the recognition of profound and multifaceted vulnerability of Muslim female former offenders, particularly as it intersects with their religious identity and the critical role of community support in their successful reintegration. Integration of vulnerability and religion is important. This demonstrates how Muslim female former offenders face unique challenges that go beyond those experienced by other female former offenders. The added layer of religious conversion during incarceration, coupled with potential isolation from both their former support systems and the Muslim community, creates a complex web of vulnerability. And the fact that religious conversion can lead to a decrease in many of the previous relied upon defense mechanisms that these females used to deal with society and the streets from their previous view is also very important to recognize. Limitations in future research. Some of the limitations were sample size and geographic scope. Though I don't put a lot of stake into the sample size, because I think this particular sample size, even with the particular sample size of only having 12, I think these individuals were so directly engaged and qualified to be a direct representation of the current incarceration model for Muslim female former offenders that it still was good. The self-reported data, a lack of longitudinal data, the subjectivity of qualitative data, and defining the quality of reentry, all could possibly have been limitations. While the future research potentially could be longitudinal studies and comparative studies, a quality of reentry exploration, intervention effectiveness, taking a good hard look at the impact of both cultural and religious factors, and a policy analysis. Implications. Systemic failures, intersectionality challenges, community support, culturally competent services, and vulnerability and resilience are all implications from the research. Recommendations. The recommendations that I'd make are to make sure to develop programs that are created and tailored specifically for reentry for Muslim female former offenders, to make sure that the organization is strengthening its partnerships and alliances with community organizations, both inside and outside of the Islamic community. Also relying upon enhanced resources, improving access to housing and improvement for the participants, as well as advocate for policy changes within the criminal justice system, and promote awareness throughout the community itself at large, as well as the Muslim community. Supporting Muslim female former offenders. So the possibility of successful reentry lends itself to the potential for successful reintegration and support. Also looking at unique challenges and needs, addresses the specific obstacles faced by Muslim female former offenders. Community support looks at the roles of the Muslim community and their reintegration, making sure to look at support from a comprehensive angle, and make sure that it's holistic and it addresses not just their religious needs, but all of their needs, as well as focusing on advocacy and research. So putting the things out there, that's good, and making them and availing them, that's also good. But we also have to make sure that both the criminal justice system and the community at large are aware of these significant issues. And then last but not least, we need to make sure that the journey for each of these individuals is transformative in their life and in their future, as well as in the way that a lot of it was even transformative for me in doing the research. A path of success on a road to recovery. So what did I gain from the research? Based on my research and the dissertation findings on Muslim female former offenders, what I gained is a better and deeper understanding of their unique challenges. It's easy as a Muslim male who's had experience with former offenders to think that I have a good understanding of the plight of Muslim female former offenders, but that was not necessarily the case. it's very difficult to put your feet into the shoes of another gender, even though you might share some things such as religion, or even the status of or awareness of former offending with them. Also, the importance of cultural and religious competency. I came to understand that culturally and religious competent support systems are critical for Muslim female former offenders during successful reentry, and may even be more critical to them than it is for males, because of the far greater stigma that they face both with society as a whole and even within the Muslim community. I also gained a better understanding of the vital role of the Muslim community with the Muslim female former offenders. Many of the Muslim female former offenders, when they come out, due to burning bridges, due to lack of family support, and maybe even ostracizing their family due to their conversion, due to disassociation with children, and or disassociation even by need and necessity with former spouses or male counterparts. All of these things make having access to the Muslim community once they come out even that much more important for them. The harsh reality of systemic barriers also was important, and really just in overall understanding of the critical need for holistic support, and how just being able to provide religious support for Muslim female former offenders isn't enough. Conversely, just like being able to provide for some of their basic needs isn't enough, because a lot of their rehabilitation has directly been the result of their spiritual awakening by embracing Islam. And with that, I conclude my presentation and open up the floor for any questions, concerns, comments,
or remarks. Thank you, Sadiq. Any questions from the audience?
Hi,
Donna?
Hey, Donna, how are you?
great job.
Well, thank you. Long time no see, cohort E.
I know. There were a couple of us. We saw your name come across, and we thought we were so excited for somebody from our cohort to be at this point. So congratulations.
Thanks so much. I greatly appreciate it.
So you mentioned during your presentation how this transformed you. I was just curious, like, because we're all in the depths of it right now. Like, what would you say? How did it transform you? Do you see things differently now, or when you go about your day, or is it something more significant in terms of like when you look at a certain population or a study?
Great question. So first and foremost, by opening the door for me to look initially, most specifically at the differences between the journey or the impact for Muslim female former offenders in comparison to, say, Muslim male former offenders.
He never said that he was incarcerated, so what makes her think he transformed his? I don't know. That's what I don't get.
Someone's mic is on. So Donna, to start off with, this opened the door for me not only to look at a lot of the differences and the increased barriers for Muslim female former offenders, but also female former offenders overall. Because as a male, there's a lot of things that I just simply never really took into context. Even though it may seem the same, it's not the same when a woman, take away religion, has to re-enter society and may have had a background of domestic violence, may have had a background of some type of sexual abuse growing up, may have had a background while they were on the streets, whether it was related to drugs or not, of prostitution or being manipulated into prostitution, or even looking at the stigma itself. It's real easy as a male to understand that, okay, well, if you've been to jail or been to prison before, society has a stigma against you. Okay, they do. But after they get over the fact that, okay, he's been to prison or he's been to jail, they kind of move on. It's not the same way. They don't look at in an ongoing for like the rest of the life or relationship, they don't always see or only see that individual as a former offender. I'm a little bit of a chauvinist, but I honestly think that in and of itself makes it more difficult for women, period. But then when you take a harder look and you look specifically at women who embrace Islam, the fact that most of them are embracing or reacclimating themselves to the religion while they're incarcerated, and they don't have a real Muslim community on the outside to go back to, and in many cases, their family may not be as openly accepting of their new spirituality, and that may cause some issues with them. And then on top of that, as bad as the stigma is for Muslim female former offenders with the community at large, it's not that great within the Muslim community either. And that's a harsh reality that the Muslim community needs to take a good hard look at, how they can be more welcoming and more open to the Muslim female former offenders, as well as individuals who work with Muslim female former offenders be able to open those doors and educate that community as well. Right.
Very good. Thank you. And I would think, just from knowing you a little bit and being in class with you, being a father of girls, I think it probably hit you a different way also, because don't you have some girls?
All girls. Yeah. All girls. That's all I know. And, yeah. and you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm sure processing some of it, what if, right? Like that question of, what if this was my daughter? I as a parent, I feel like we all can understand that, like it makes you look at something in a different light.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Great job, Sadiq.
Thank you, Donna. Brenda, do you have a question, or is your mic just open?
Her mic's open. I don't think she realizes it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm actually driving. I'm in Sadiq's cohort, and I just wanted to be supportive.
Okay.
I think you're doing an excellent presentation. I want to find a way to turn my mic off, or I'll even drop off so they're not disturbed. Good luck, Sadiq.
Thanks, Brenda. I appreciate it.
Well, Sadiq, as part of your cohort member, I'm really, really proud of you. Congratulations. And also, I really, really admire your topic, because I am I'm researching on starting a nonprofit just to, just job placement for offenders. So, just a job, I don't know, but this is a really, really good topic, and it really enlightened me on some areas. So I really loved your research and everything. So again, thank you, and appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Tanya. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? So there are messages, Sadiq, on the chat.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, well, son, I am so absolutely proud of you. What an accomplishment. Having been there myself and worked with many doctoral students, I'd like to compliment your committee and certainly your chair. This was an amazing job. So, to the new Dr. Sadiq Washington, from your mother who loves you greatly, Dr. Winifred Washington, kudos, son. Good job.
Thank you, Mom.
Well, I'll add to, and who am I to disagree with Dr. Washington? But I did want to add that, great job, Sadiq. And when you came to us and said, I want to finish early, and we hear that often, but most folks are not able to get done early, and you really put your mind to it, and you got it done, and you did a great job. And so congratulations. And also, too, I always say this to everyone, but, make sure that this study doesn't sit, on the shelf. There are other organizations out there that could benefit from your research. So, think about those next steps of getting the word out about what you found, best practices, whether it would be overarching organizations, organizations across the country, because I really do think you found some very interesting points that there's other organizations out there. So congratulations again, not officially a little early, but still. Wonderful job.
Thanks so much.
I just wanted to make a comment. You have always been one to defend whatever the goal, mission, objective that you saw, something that would add to the climate and the culture of the world. I'm so proud of you. And just in terms of watching your journey over these years and having an understanding and a sense of your feelings, the way that you feel about others, and listening to the things that you were saying. My question to you is, in terms of the design, because you presented a lot of information, but some of that information is designed by the climate and the culture. Do you think that there will be an adherence to the information that you shared? Because listening to what you said, it impacted me in a way that I was like, I didn't have an awareness, or this is going on. What will the future impact be of the information that you shared today? Is this something that is so minuscule that people aren't paying attention to it? I don't see it as being that. Or is it something that we really need to focus on and have an understanding in terms of what we need to do to grow? And it's not just in this situation. I was applying it to many situations that I'm aware of. And everyone that's listening, I want you to know, I am so proud of him, and I take all the ownership. But what an amazing job, man. You inspired me to look at myself. When you were talking about the things you were doing with yours, how it impacted you, this information will impact others. So thank you. And I hope that you answer the key question. I said a lot of things because I'm just
I got it.
Gushing with pride right now, but just go ahead with that.
Well, Uncle Dennis, thanks so much for your heartfelt comments. I certainly greatly appreciate them and everything you've always done for me. In reference, that's a very interesting question that you asked. And the reason I say that is because it's one I've been asking myself, not so much as throughout the entire research process, but definitely once it came to towards the end of this portion of it. And from everything that I've gathered, I think it has to basically be addressed on three main fronts. The largest or most visible front would have to be through the larger and so-called more powerful Islamic organizations nationwide, and they have lobbyists and groups and things of that nature. They have to actively engage on this and not just as an afterthought. Secondly, and the one that I think will probably be the most important on an up and down the street type situation is locally, each and every masjid, mosque, Islamic center, and Islamic organization needs to have some sort of education and awareness about the problem of Muslim female former offenders, nevertheless, Muslim recidivism at all, but most specifically, the issue of Muslim female former offenders, and wake them up and let them know, hey, at the end of the day, we're all that these people may have once they come out, and we need to address their issues in a non-judgmental way, and we need to apply all of the things that we say out of our mouths in regards to forgiveness and repentance, and make that applicable to them as well. And then above and beyond that, in a non-religious from a non-religious standpoint, in a non-combative way, we need to educate the community at large, both the criminal justice systems, as well as the any applicable social service agencies, but also the regular up and down the street Joe. And we need to do it in a way where that individual, though they may not have any real tendencies or regards in a positive way for Islam, where they understand the issue, and they also understand that by not addressing the issue, that indirectly it still will be impactful to them in their lives.
Kudos, Sadiq.
Any other comments?
I think everybody put most of them in the chat. They didn't get a chance to speak, so, and some of them had to sign off, so wrote it in the chat for you, Sadiq.
How do I see the chat, Dr. Wilmore?
Go to the Zoom, go to the Zoom toolbar and then click chat. There's a toolbar for Zoom where the share button is. Among those should be chat. If you don't see it, click the more.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
I'm also going to copy and paste and email them to you, Sadiq.
Okay.
Yes.
Is anyone still on here? Okay.
You have 12 participants that are still logged in.
So I'm unless I'm doing this wrong, I don't see any real questions in the chat. I see some comments.
No, it's just
there's
comments.
No
yes.
Comments.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Comments. Yes.
Well,
yes.
Thank everyone who commented, especially the ones from my cohort and my mom, of course. I appreciate you all coming and attending and staying so long and being part of this, as well as I appreciate each and every one of you for whatever impact or intersection you've had in my life to make any of this possible.
Dr. Wilmer, you want to close up before I say my closing remarks?
No, just congratulations. Job well done, Sadiq. I did message Dr. Oda a few minutes before you were done, and I said he really took our feedback to heart.
Yes, you did.
Didn't want you to hyperventilate. We knew you. We wanted you to breathe a couple times there, but
yes,
you made it through, so congratulations.
And you did a great job.
You did.
Thank you, Dr. Wilmer. So I'm just going to just close with my closing remarks and say, Sadiq, you presented this research and in a most effective way, you just provided us with a unique opportunity to examine the existing literature and briefly for us to understand the experiences of the Muslim female former offenders. And the most important thing, the lack of resources after their imprisonment in a broader aspect. And you also indeed given the intersections of emarginalization, and you actually articulated it in a greater format and given it attention. So I am going to agree with Dr. Buffon, who said that this research must pay a forward format in order for us to be able to, have access, because as you have stated that you also learn so much from just this research. I have learned so much from working with you during this journey, and I really hope that I have assisted you in the most, professional way and also in the most effective way. And I believe that we worked very well together from, PCR 1 and 2 and moving on forward. So, and it was my pleasure, being your advisor during this journey. Without wasting any time, I am going to take this opportunity to say that you have fulfilled all the requirements to obtain, this doctorate, level. And also you have fulfilled, I know that you're still finishing up some classes because you did this in a shorter way. You were supposed to graduate last year, but from day one you told me that you are working towards finishing this year. And kudos to you, because you worked with me in all my challenges of the schedule. You were very patient, and it was just a pleasure working with you. And Wilmington University is actually proud, and also just in general is very, very honored to have you in their cohort. And also, I want to congratulate you and say congratulations, Dr. Sadiq Washington.
Thanks so much.
Even though, Mom, I said it first, but hey, I was not going to steal that spotlight from Mom. But
yeah, she stole your spotlight, but that's she's Mom.
Yes, yeah.
She's allowed.
Yes, you are very much allowed. So, once the next step, I am going to communicate it with you. I think I know I did go over, the next steps with you, but I'm going to go over the next steps with you, and that's it.
Okay, well, I look forward to it.
Well, thank you everyone for joining this, presentation, and thank you very much for also being in this presentation while we welcome the new doctor in the university.
Congratulations, Sadiq.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
Congrats.
thank you very much. And well, the congratulations are coming in.
Uh-huh.
That's a lady that came.
We are all saying congratulations, and sorry to have stolen your advisor's
That's okay.
moment.
That's okay. It's okay.
But I was so proud.
It's okay.
I am not a Muslim. I am a Christian. And so this was very unique for me to watch him progress through and the learning experience. And now he can go out. And I'm like all of you. I'd like to see him take this further and see us apply it, not just to the Muslim women. I saw so much in there for all women that are incarcerated. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Washington. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I guess the three of us will talk shortly.
Yes.
So we can just stay on for a minute. Okay.
Okay.
We'll just wait.
All right. Thank you. Great
Thank
job.
you
Thank you,
for
Dr.
coming, Dr.
Buffon.
Buffon.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
coming.
You're welcome. Phenomenal job. Thank you.
Tanya, you
Thank
gonna be next?
Yes. That's what she told me.
Yeah, so waiting for my HSRC. So woo, I'm excited. Okay. Congratulations, Sadiq. Oh my
Thank
God,
you.
I'm so proud
All
of you.
right.
All right. Bye everybody.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Congrats again, Sadiq. We'll talk soon. Bye.
All right. Take care.
All righty.
You did a great
You
job,
did it. You
Sadiq.
did a great job.
Took
Oh
our
my
feedback
goodness.
well. You was just
Yes.
rushing yourself. I know you had a lot to say, and that's why we at the final presentation we typically don't do the questions. The questions that you were asked were lightweight enough. They were okay, but it's more the congratulations, Deek, all that. I think the first question, Donna, she took too long. She kind of took up, she kind of took way too long. That wasn't appropriate, but it's okay. In that way, if she had limited her comments, more of the people who wrote their congratulations would have had a chance to say it out loud. But it's okay. You did wonderful. Now you're breathing. I see the smile on your face. And I saw you light up when your mom said what she said. I was lighting up too. Actually, I got a couple tears in my eyes when your mom said that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
She
Uh-oh.
dropped.
She didn't mean to do that.
No, she was in the middle of saying something.
Yeah, she made me the host. Oh no, she had already made me the host. So I think she disconnected. Oh. I just texted her, come back. Let me call her. Maybe. Let me call her.
Hello, hi.